How close to another death do we have to come before the FIA learned their lesson? 8 years ago, Jules Bianchi was killed at Suzuka after a collision with a crane on a wet track. At this year's Japanese Grand Prix, Pierre Gasly was inches away from suffering the exact same fate. How could the FIA let this happen again? And how will the sport respond? Let's find out. This weekend was supposed to be a joyous one for Pierre Gasly. He just signed a contract with Alpine for 2023 to join his childhood friend turned enemy Esteban Ocon. Gasly said he was delighted to begin this new chapter in my F1 career. Driving for a team that has French roots is something very special, he said. I know the strengths of Alpine, having raced against them over the past couple of years, and clearly their progress and ambition is very impressive. By the end of the weekend though, he was just happy to be seeing another day, never mind another season in Formula 1. 8 years ago, on the 5th of October at the 2014 Japanese Grand Prix, Jules Bianchi lost control of his Mauritia MR03. He left the track at turn 7, the Dunlop curve, and collided with a tractor crane that was collecting Adrian Suttil's Sauber. He suffered severe head injuries as a result of the collision, and died 9 months later from his injuries. The investigation into his death found that there was no single cause of Bianchi's accident. Instead, the contributing factors were found to include track conditions, car speed, and the presence of a recovery vehicle on the circuit. Before we break down what needs to be learned from Pierre Gasly's incident, let's lay out the facts of what happened without opinion. The rain-soaked Suzuka circuit was always going to make for an action-packed Grand Prix, and unfortunately for Carlos Sainz, he was a driver who got bitten by aquaplaning first. His car came to rest on the side of the track, the field flew by, and the safety car was instantly brought out. His crash had caused an advertising board to get stuck on Pierre Gasly's front wing, sending the French driver to the pits for a new front wing. The safety car came out, the rest of the field got picked up by it and slowed down as they passed Sainz's car, which was in the process of being removed from the track by a tractor crane. Gasly, unlike the rest of the field, had pitted, and with a front wing change needed, it wasn't a quick one. He came out well behind the safety car train and proceeded to speed up to catch up with the cars in front. The rest of the field passed the tractor behind the safety car. The track was still drenched at this point and visibility was incredibly poor due to the spray from the cars. Pierre was well behind the rest of the field, but from the footage from his car, even his visibility was extremely limited. The onboard footage from Pierre's car shows that he had approximately 1 second to respond to the tractor being on track. The tractor had its lights on, but in the conditions, they were very hard to see. Before he passes the tractor, he sees a yellow flag light on track. After passing the tractor, the race is red flagged. So what were the problems with this incident? Marshals and recovery vehicles are allowed within the safety barriers while cars are on track to recover cars and debris. If the race was red flagged every time a car needed removing or marshals had to recover debris, Formula 1 races would take hours. What made this incident so scary is how similar the situation was to that of Jules Bianchi's. In fact, it could be said that this situation was even more dangerous than the one that resulted in Bianchi's death. The contributing factors to the 2014 incident included track conditions, car speed, and the presence of a recovery vehicle on the circuit. This time, the recovery vehicle wasn't just on the circuit recovering a car from a barrier. It was on track, inches away from the racing line. Any driver can aquaplane and lose control at any time. At this very race weekend, Mick Schumacher lost control of his Haas on the way back to the garage after free practice 1 finished, destroying his car. Any twitch or slip from Gasly's AlphaTauri would have resulted in him hitting that tractor. What should have happened to reduce the risk of anything happening here? Firstly, the tractor should never have been allowed on track until the entire field had been collected by the safety car. He then wouldn't have been speeding to catch up to the safety car, reducing the risk of collision. For many people though, that wouldn't have reduced the risk far enough. Considering the conditions, drivers, team members, fans, and the media have all said that the tractor should have never been allowed on track in the first place. Martin Brundle wrote on Twitter, "Should have been an instant red flag with a stricken car in a critical position in those conditions. Clearly debris on track too. Should never ever be a tractor on track until the cars are all collected up behind the safety car or in the pits." Drivers took to social media en masse to share the same opinion as well. They're the ones risking themselves to race in the first place. If they say this took the risk too far, then we should all be listening. Especially the FIA. The FIA has been quick to acknowledge the anger being directed at them, In a statement confirming its investigation, the FIA said, "While it is normal practice to recover cars under safety car and red flag conditions, due to the particular circumstances and also taking into account feedback from a number of drivers, the FIA has launched a thorough review of the events involving the deployment of recovery vehicles during the Japanese Grand Prix. This is part of the common practice of debrief and analysis of all race incidents to ensure continual improvements of processes and procedures." Gasly was investigated after the race for speeding under safety car conditions and was given a 20-second time penalty as well as 2 points on his license. In their analysis of the incident, former F1 racers Karun Chandhok and Paul di Resta suggested Gasly should bear some of the blame for the close call, siding with the FIA's assessment of what happened. "He's pushing on. You can listen here and he's going a lot faster than anyone else is on track," said Chandhok. Di Resta then said, "I think when he looks back at his onboard camera, he is considerably faster than the other cars passing that incident." Chandhok then finished, "It's double waved yellow flags and then the red. We know this from junior Formula racing, you have to go at a speed at which you can be prepared to stop, and he is quite clearly going a lot quicker than anyone else was." The two have been ridiculed for trying to suggest that this near miss was in any way Gasly's fault. They chose to point to the speed Gasly was travelling as the problem here. He was going at around 200 km an hour as he passed the tractor, but no matter what speed he was travelling, this could have ended in tragedy. Gasly was fuming when he spoke to the media after the incident and was quick to point out that no matter what speed he was going, he would have died. "If I would have lost the car in a similar way as Carlos lost it on the lap before, I was doing 200 km per hour. But it is not the matter. Even 100 km per hour, if I would have lost it and hit a 12-ton crane, I would have been dead right now. I'm just extremely grateful that I'm still standing, and I'm still going to be able to call my family tonight, and still going to be able to call my loved ones, and nothing happened. But really, for the sake of us drivers, I hope that this can be the last time that we see a crane and take such an unnecessary risk for all of us race drivers." The presence of the crane has been universally described by the drivers as unacceptable, and George Russell and Sebastian Vettel were among those who noted that such incidents have been a regular topic of conversations in recent drivers' briefings and Grand Prix Drivers Association meetings. During the red flag in Suzuka, Russell tried to make phone contact with FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem before the restart was announced, and he had to return to the garage. Speaking after the checkered flag, but before the FIA formally confirmed it was launching a review, both of the GPDA leaders made their feelings clear. "I think we spoke a little bit about it in the drivers' briefing this week," Russell said, "because there was a tractor on track in Singapore with Yuki Tsunoda's crash under a safety car, and it was at the point that people were transitioning to slicks. And we expressed our view that we don't ever want to see that happen. That was obviously last week. To come here 1 week later, given the circumstances and the history, of course, is pretty disappointing. We're all going to, of course, speak to the FIA. In our view, it's pretty straightforward. No tractors on track. And if you need a tractor on track, red flag it. No matter what the FIA investigation says, the end of this conversation is that the drivers are the ones risking their lives on track for our entertainment. If they say that having a tractor on track while they are there is too far, then we shouldn't have tractors on track. If the FIA doesn't back up the drivers soon by saying this won't happen again, then this could get really ugly." What was your first reaction when you saw the footage from Pierre's car? And what would you do if you were in the driver's position? Let us know in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.